Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity, community service, volunteering, and just spreading positivity. We're all about the positivity here on the show. And I've got a very special guest with me today. He is a former Alabama Wrestling Federation champion. In fact, the longest reigning in history, 1,245 days. And he's wrestled all over the Gulf Coast, including Florida. Golf course.
Hey, that'd be a good place. That'd be a interesting wrestling match right there. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Gulf Coast, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. He's wrestled in 8 states, and I'm very happy to talk with him here today. I'm pleased to welcome Brym Stone to Wrestling with Heart. Thank you, Brym Stone, for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk with you and, talk some wrestling and whatever else we get into.
Yeah. So tell me about your upbringing in childhood. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, still based in Mobile, Alabama. But there's different little towns inside of Mobile. And when I was a kid, I grew up in a little area called Tanner Williams, and then moved over to a town called Wilmer. And then as I got a little bit older, getting into high school and stuff, moved over into what we call West Mobile. And pretty much lived in Mobile my whole life, Mobile, Alabama, my whole life. And some people don't like it in Mobile, Alabama. I actually do like it. It's close to a lot of beaches. You don't have to go too far to get to beaches and whatnot. But yeah, this is where I'm from and where I've been. As far as, upbringing and what got me into wrestling, I don't know how old I was, but I was probably, I would take a guess, 3 to 4 years old because of where I lived at the time. And Hulk Hogan was on TV, and it's the first memory of wrestling that I have. And it's hard to really remember all of it, but I'm pretty sure it was something where he was wrestling Paul Orndorff. And I remember my dad and mom telling me, about it. You like that? It looks pretty cool. And I was like, oh, wow. Hulk Hogan like suplexed him or something like that, But that was, first memory of wrestling. I just thought it was so cool. And I remember my dad telling me when I was little, he's like, well, this stuff's, how he didn't use the word fake. The way he put it was, this stuff's kind of, they set it up, they kind of work together to do, like when he picks him up, he's kind of helping him and stuff. And I was like, I'm a kid. I'm looking at it. I said, it looked like he picked him up pretty easy to me, Dad. It's Hulk Hogan, it looked like he slammed him pretty easy, But anyway.
It's that suspense of disbelief.
Yeah.
They make you, they make you feel like it's a real thing, but it was
worked. Entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I love about it. It was entertaining. And as I've grown up, I've always looked at it and known about predetermined outcomes. But to me, when you watch wrestling, whether you're watching it on television, whether you go see it live in person, it's no different than sitting watching your favorite TV show. That's make-believe too, in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're actors. So I think, hey, if you can just enjoy it for what it is, just enjoy it for what it is. You either get it or you don't, and that's cool if you don't.
Yeah.
I love it. So I grew up and I was a kid. I wanted to be a wrestler. I just thought it was so cool. It'd be cool to do that one day. And eventually, I was probably 17 and I tried out for a company locally And when I was 16, I'd had a what I thought was a minor back injury playing football, but it always kind of bugged me. Um, so a combination of my back really just not feeling right and not having the money to pay to be trained at 17, uh, I didn't go through with it. It was 10 years later, um, struggling through back pain, never really knowing at that time what was actually wrong with it. Just, man, my back hurts, working a construction job in shipbuilding. I've been doing shipbuilding as my job for over 18 years. But, when you have back pain already, it's not very well advised to go and try to become a professional wrestler, you know?
No.
But anyway, it took me 10 years to get to a point where I was like, man, I'm in good shape. My back's not bothering me. I haven't had any issues with it in a while. I'd went, well over a year or two without having to go to the doctor about my back or having any issues with it. And I was in good shape. And so I'm 27, or I was about to be 27, might have actually been 26. Went and talked to a promoter at Alabama Wrestling Federation. And, he told me, well, this is what it'll take to get you started and all this kind of stuff. So I went and saved up a little bit of money. And when I first got into it, it was just kind of a thing, I just want to try it. If I don't try it, I'll always regret it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's something that I'm going to be good at. It doesn't necessarily mean it's something I'm going to be really great and successful at. But, it's something you wanted to do. You need to try it at least. So I did. And, overall, I think it's worked out pretty well for me, to this point.
It seems like it has. I mean, Alabama is like, it's got a chock full of wrestling history. The South does as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of history in Alabama. And is it fair to say that Hulk Hogan was the one you idolized growing up? Was he the guy that you said, I want to be like him?
Not necessarily. When I was like really small, there was Hulk Hogan, there was Macho Man, and Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Undertaker, came into the fold around that time. So, those were guys, and also Sting, right? So as a little kid, that's like the ones, and you had the Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors, or Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them. So that was like the ones that I was familiar with when I was small. I liked Hulk Hogan a lot, but I wouldn't say he was necessarily inspiration to say I want to be a wrestler or be like him. But I do think every wrestling fan at some point has done a Hulk Hogan imitation. Have they
Oh,
not?
no question. I
Every
mean,
fan at some point has
he's
done a Hogan imitation, right?
like a lot of people I know, like that have gotten into the business, cite him as an influence.
Yeah.
For
Well,
wanting to
I think he
go into it.
has. I think he has some sort of influence, probably on everybody to some degree, right?
Yes.
There's something about one of his matches at some point, or something he said. Yeah, sure. But I would say, um, my two favorites, I would have to say, being a fan of wrestling, was probably Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
Those are good picks. What was it
Yeah.
about those two that really got you like mesmerized with the art of professional wrestling?
I think with the Undertaker, obviously the character, just he's this big guy, very athletic. I mean, he just personified intimidation. I mean, think about how he looked. Would you want to walk upon that guy in a dark alley? I don't think so. So he was a scary guy as you're a kid watching Undertaker, but at the same time, it's like that dude's cool. You know, he's got the cool entrance, he's got the cool gear, no matter what character he portrayed, whether he was, the original Undertaker, whether it was, when he was, the in the ministry, the Lord of Darkness, I think they called him. He had his outfits were always cool. I even liked him as the American Badass. I thought he was cool as the biker. I liked him a lot as the biker. And then after that, coming back, how he just, he continued to evolve, but still be the same. It's hard to do. And it was just, that was inspiring. How can this guy continue to evolve, yet still deliver all of the same nostalgic things that got him popular in the same breath of adding to it. So that was cool. And then with Shawn Michaels, I think it had to do a lot with how do you say this? I guess probably relatable in terms of, as far as the average everyday person, is really not that small of a guy. But in the wrestling world, he's a small guy. So he's always fighting from underneath when he was younger, coming up through the ranks, and he just did anything it took to put on a show, whatever it took to entertain. He would go to great lengths, whether it was his feats of athleticism, he could do whatever he wanted to do in that ring. And it's because, he put in a lot of effort and training to get to that point. Not saying he wasn't naturally gifted. Obviously, anybody that's as good as him has natural talent. But I think that was it. It's just relatable. It's like, hey, if this guy can go do it, if he can put in the work and get to that, achieve what he achieved, and then also when he exited WWE with his back injury,
Mm-hmm.
and then we all know now it wasn't just his back injury. Obviously, he had broken his back, but he was also addicted to painkillers. So he was dealing with a lot. Think about what he went through physically, emotionally, mentally. 4 years later, coming back to the WWE, and somehow was even better. His movement may have not been quite as good, but he was better. And I actually I have the same injury to my spine that he had.
Mm-hmm.
The two bottom discs being messed up, we'll just say. So it's just there's a lot of inspiration there from Shawn Michaels in terms of that. And just like I said, the charisma, and that he would do whatever it took to put on a show and entertain the fans, whether it was good guy, bad guy. He was willing to push the envelope. What can we do? What can he do to get himself to the next level? And I know, now, he goes back and says, oh, he did a lot of selfish things and whatnot behind the scenes. But, we're as fans, we don't know what's going on with that. What he delivered in front of an audience, he put his heart and soul into it. One thing I will say though, still was a huge Steve Austin fan. Who didn't like him at some point? Like The Rock, But once being a wrestler for so many years, or after you do it for a little while, you start trying to find yourself, character wise, and then also physically. What move set is really going to work for you best, kind of thing, right? What's going to go with your character, but what can you do the best, right? I'm not going to go out there and do a whole bunch of luchador stuff. Why would I? It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not that type of athlete when it comes to a lot of the stuff that they can do, So you think about Shawn Michaels, a lot of people will automatically think about Bret Hart, right? They had a lot of battles.
Yin and yang.
Yeah. I like Bret Hart. He was cool. But growing up, I would have, I picked Shawn over Brett. It was probably a fine line though, but I'd go with HBK.
Mm-hmm.
After being a wrestler, I really appreciate Bret Hart so much more. If I look for inspiration, I find myself watching much more of Bret Hart's matches than anybody else's, trying to say, what can I learn? What can I train on? What can I go and practice to continue to get better? And watching Bret Hart and trying to emulate some of those things or come up with new ways to do the same things, right? Make something old new again kind of thing. Watching his stuff, I feel like in the last couple years has got me a little bit better, and not just doing more moves. It's not about doing more moves. How you deliver the moves, the little things you do in between
The psychology.
those moves. Yes, watching him has helped me a lot. It really has. So, so in terms of my inspirations, those are a lot of
You've got
inspiration.
a whole set of them, which is good to have because each one has something different to offer.
Yes, yes,
And the amount of talent that came out of that period, the Attitude Era and the new
hmm
generation, that whole 90s into the 2000s, I mean, you had a
yeah,
lot of guys really come and go that really set the tone for what wrestling is is today. And so many people are still inspired by their works, and just it's incredible to see what the accomplishments that they were able to set forth for the
hmm
business. They really took it to another level. And when you started, what can you tell me about training? Because I know it's a very intense process.
So my very first day of training was with Dwayne Henderson. He at the time was the owner of the Alabama Wrestling Federation, and Dwayne Henderson was known by many in the wrestling business as Alabama Doink. Um, some don't know this. He actually bought the rights to the Doink character from Matt Osborne, and technically wrestled as Doink a lot more years than what Matt Osborne did. But um, and he did work for WWE as Doink later on. Uh, After Osborne was done, whenever they brought Doink back a few times here and there, it was Dwayne Henderson. Um, and a lot of people don't know that.
It's an exclusive.
Huh?
It's an exclusive for our show.
Yeah, fans wise, there may be a lot of fans have no idea, would have no idea about that, but it's the truth. Um, so first day of training, Dwayne had a busted up knee, right? He still wrestled, but as far as training went, he didn't do a lot of hands on. He would do some hands on here and there. He did a lot of directing traffic, so to speak. We're going to do this. We're going to work on this, and he would bring guys in that could do more of the physical part of it because his knee was so banged up. And the first night of training, he brought in a guy named Chad Cheatham, the War Machine Chad Cheatham. And this is a guy that I watched on local shows growing up. I was a fan of his. If you ask me who my favorite indie wrestler was, it was Chad Cheatham.
Hmm?
Right? You talk about who's your favorite, WWE, or who's your favorite TV guy back in the
Yeah.
day, it was always Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. But if you ask me who's your favorite indie guy, it was, oh, Chad Cheatham, hands down. I still think he's one of the best independent wrestlers I've ever seen. Even now in his 50s, even though he's retired, I still say he could come out of retirement right now and he could outwork 90% of most rosters. He's still in phenomenal shape. Um, so, it's a shame. He did get signed to WWE on like a 3-month, 6-month deal at one point. I remember he wrestled Dean Malenko a couple times, but he never, they never did anything big with him. But it's kind of a shame because he was very, very talented. He come in my first day of training. That's who Dwayne brought in. And he said, look, man, he said, what we're going to do, he said, we're going to see what kind of shape you're in. He said, you look like you're in good shape. He said, but this business can be grueling. He said, I'm going to test you. And he's like, we're going to do some boot camp type of stuff. And that's pretty much what we did. I mean, exercises, up, downs, squat, push up, downs, rolls, this kind, all kind of stuff. And had me do that for like an hour, 45 minutes.
Wow.
And
it's intense.
he was like, all right. He said, all right, take your break. Let me go talk to the boss. So they come back and this is what they told me straight up. They said, look, we didn't think you were that serious about it. We thought you were just another mark that wanted to try and get into the inside of the business kind of thing. And they said, we thought honestly that we could probably, put you through this boot camp stuff and make you want to quit right off the bat and not have to deal with you. They said, but you really just impressed us. And we're really impressed by you were able to like just do all that right now and just not and it not, I don't want to say it didn't faze me. It did. I was tired, but he's like, so now we're going to really get into training. I was like, all right. And, we worked on roles and why we did certain roles and stuff. And those weren't bad. What I remember the most about that session, though, wasn't learning how to take, we started back bumps. It wasn't learning how to take back bumps or anything like that. What I remember the most was we're going to focus. He said, we're going to focus on running the ropes more than we're going to work on bumps or anything. And he explained to me, he said, these ropes are your friend. He said, make good friends with these ropes. He said, because you can do a whole lot of things with the ropes on a wrestling ring. He said, they're your friend. He said, this is a tool that you can learn to use and do so many things with. He said, they can save you. They can hurt you. He's like, so it's very important to learn how to use them. And I'm trying to run these ropes, right? I'm bouncing off the rope and just horrible footwork, tripping over my own feet. I'm like, how do y'all do this? Oh my God. It was so tough to just run the ropes the proper way. And it frustrated Chad. And he said, he started yelling at me. He started yelling at me. And mind you, I'm a good 5'11", close to 6 feet. Mm-hmm. Chad's probably good 5'9", but he was a good solid cut up 235 pounds. I mean, at that height, man, he was big. He was tough looking. He was mean. And he's like, I want you to run these ropes like a 300-pound man just grabbed you and slung you into him, And I'm like, okay. There were some cuss words thrown in there that I left out,
Yeah.
He's, and so I did. And having that momentum and that speed is actually what helped me achieve the road running process. I was trying to start out slow, hit them kind of just barely get into them and then build up speed. And it wasn't working. What worked for me is going 100% full force, bam, hit the rope, bounce off to the other side. And the footwork just came along with it. Boom, 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 boom. And it left bruises on my back from where the ropes were hitting my back. I had the top rope bruise and then even had the middle rope bruise from where I was hitting into it. That's what I remember the most. So just running the ropes on the first day of training, I had bruises on my back.
Wow.
that's how physical it is just to be in the wrestling ring. That's not, having a wrestling match. That's not having moves. That's not going through a whole ton of bumps. That's just running the ropes, and I was bruised up.
Yeah.
So, you know, people I don't think would realize, I wouldn't have thought that, you know. So just that was an interesting thing from first day of training. But anyway, as far as beyond that, the truth is your training never stops. You train until you get to a point that not only does your trainer feel ready that you could go out and perform and compete in a match, but you also have to be ready. There's a lot of mental that goes into it. You have to be mentally prepared to go out there. um, I did a small amount of amateur boxing when I was younger, like very amateur, not a whole lot of it, but it was still, it's a fight. You're going in there and you're trying to beat this guy. So I still to this day try to bring that mentality when I prepare for a match. I look at it as this is a big match. This is, it's going to be competitive. We're going to go out. We're going to perform. We're going to put on a show. But my performance is how I'm competing, right? That's, every wrestler's looking for a spot, so to speak, right?
Hmm.
They want to keep their spot on a show or get a better spot on a show
Yeah.
or get to a better show and have a spot there, right? Everybody's competing for a spot,
Hmm.
and you compete by your performance, how well you do with what it is you need to do that night, and also how well you are working with your opponent on said match. You know what I'm saying? It,
Yeah, there's a certain level of competition. People talk
yeah,
about
there's still,
competition with different companies, but you don't really hear about the competition within the company as well when it
yeah,
comes to certain talents.
yeah, exactly. You're still competing against other talents. I mean, your boys, what I'm saying? Most locker rooms that you go into, majority of them, very friendly, very professional.
Yeah.
Honestly, nowadays it's very, very rare, that you go into locker rooms and there's a lot of heat between guys and just, guys not wanting to work with each other and stuff. Really, nowadays, I just, I don't feel like you see a whole lot of that. But even if there was, I mean, you're there, you got to be professional. It doesn't matter. You have grievances, you air your grievances out before you go and work together. You're competing for a spot, you know, hey, I'm cool with this guy. We're boys, maybe even friends, but I'm working my tail off and I really want to obtain, some level of achievement here. And man, I want the company, what can I do for the company to recognize me as their champion? I really want to get to that level. And my buddy or my friend is there, you know, and you put it in those terms, it sounds bad. Like, oh man, he's trying to take my spot, but it's not about that. It's like you want the spot for yourself because you're putting in the hard work. You want to achieve that goal,
Right.
and so there's
Yeah.
still a level of competition there. Um, but even with that being said, you still you still you want to make the other guy look good. That's part of your job when you're out there is making each other look good, and then you both become valuable. You can, everyone you work with, if you can make them look good and they can make you look good, you're still competing for a spot. But at the end of the day, that could open up more spots for more
Talent.
people
Yeah.
working together. So it's just, it's a very the dynamic of the wrestling business is very cool. Uh, but it's odd as well, it's
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
you're in the process of moving up the ladder, starting from the lower end to the main event stage. You're basically working with as many people as you can in order to get a push and then go on and start competing for championships and eventually winning them.
Yeah.
So you get trained, you're in the business, you make your debut. We'll talk about some of the people you've worked with over the years. Who have been some of your favorite opponents to work with?
Favorite opponents. Full blown career wise, I'd say two of my greatest rivals uh, is a man they call Vladimir Koloff and a man known as Mac Daddy Duds.
We've had him on the show.
Yeah. I've had a lot of matches with both of them, and I'd say that those are probably definitely my two greatest rivals. Some of my best matches have come from working with those two. Um, I've enjoyed working with so many people. I've had a chance to work with Chad Cheatham, who, like I said, helped train me. Uh, Great matches to this day. Even when I was a rookie, having a match with Chad is still probably one of my better matches, even as a rookie, because he was so giving, took very good care of me, led me so well. Um, gosh, a guy who I don't know how long he's been working, but I would say he's relatively new to the business. Murdo Brown, I had a match with him earlier this year. We had a really great match. Again, he made me look like $1,000,000, uh, and it was fun working with him. Um, John Taylor is someone who I've built a story with over several years, and we've had a long term storytelling from tag teaming with each other to breaking apart and then having matches in multiple different companies and then it finally coming back and coming to a head in the original company that it started with, AWA Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there should be footage of that match somewhere. AWA Pro Wrestling should have something of it somewhere. Ended in the last man
Yeah.
standing match with John Taylor. That we've done some really good stuff. Me and John Taylor. I worked with a guy named Mustang Mike out of Louisiana. Mustang Mike been on the Gulf Coast for nearly 30 years. Phenomenal talent. Former champion in NWA at some point. I'm not sure if it was a national champion or something like that, but he's held so many titles. Uh, Super professional. Can't say enough about Mustang Mike. Another indie guy that has really inspired me.
Wow, it seems like you've definitely worked with a whole slew of opponents.
Oh yeah,
It's crazy.
Almost 10 years I've been doing it now. So yeah,
That's
I've had
amazing.
fortunate to work with some top talents in indie wrestling. In my opinion, they're top people.
What's your ultimate goal? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now as far as wrestling?
Mm, 5 years. In 5 years, honestly, I'll probably, unless have been fortunate to get a spot with a large company that pays a lot of money. In the next 5 years, I will probably be looking at retirement from in-ring action.
Hmm.
I'm about to be 37. So in 5 years, that'd put me, 41, 42. Yeah, definitely going to probably be considering retirement around that time. Um, if there are no bigger opportunities, most likely.
What what would you like to do as far as uh compete? What do you want to do in the business in addition to being a competitor? But do you see yourself working behind the scenes after wrestling? Do you see yourself as an agent or a manager, commentator?
It's hard to say. I have some other goals in my personal life that I really haven't been able to put 100% effort into because of wrestling. So I think it just depends. If I can go after some things that I want in my personal life and still do some things behind the scenes in wrestling, or as manager, or just special appearances or things like that, then I would definitely do them. It just kind of, that's one of those things. Just got to see how things play out. I have some personal goals in my personal life though that I really want to also achieve. So we'll just see. If I can manage to achieve those personal goals over the next 5 years, and I'm still feeling good, I may continue to do some in-ring work, but um, who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
Endless possibilities, I'd say.
Let's switch gears and talk about the stuff that you've done outside of the ring. You've done a lot of charity work over the course of your career. What can you tell me about some of the organizations you've partnered up with?
Um, I've AWF for several years used to do a show at I guess you'd say a restaurant, like a buffet style restaurant called Golden Corral, and it was called Camp Corral. Um, did that for several years, where uh, all of the proceeds from that show would be donated to Camp Corral, which is something that Golden Corral did, where the children of fallen soldiers, it paid for them to go to like summer camps and things like that. So that was always a good thing, like doing. Hopefully, I think they're going to try to get that rolling again this year. I haven't done it in a few years, but was always more than willing to
yeah.
donate my time for those shows and try to raise some money there. Also, I've done several Toys for Tots shows over the years with different organizations. Um, Here in Alabama, I've done that in Mississippi and also in Louisiana. So those are always great to be a part of, and raise some money and get some toys for children around Christmas time. And my son is autistic and also has a rare genetic disorder, and the short abbreviated name of the rare genetic disorder is DUP7, duplication, microduplication. Anyway, it's a long name. uh, so DUP7, we follow a page on Facebook called Duplication Cares, and they send out a lot of information in different ways that you can donate or just learn more about it, gain information about it. In some instances, just gaining information about how to, um, be around people that are special needs. Just learning more about them, is that in itself can be a huge thing for those families. Just acceptance and understanding of what it is that's happening and going through, that sort of thing. With um, autism awareness and acceptance. So the Alabama, let's see, I think it's called the ASA, Autism Society of Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it is. Um, Throughout the years, have done several. Oh, there. I don't know if he's going to make a. Yeah, there he is right now.
Oh,
There
wow.
he is right now. Yeah,
Making a cameo.
Yeah, making a cameo.
Hi there. Hello.
Hi, buddy. He went back inside.
Yeah.
But over the years, his mom and I have done what's called the ASA Walk, the Walk for Autism, and raise money for the ASA, and they help provide resources for families with autism in the state of Alabama. So those are some of the things that I like to try and do to help out the community in any kind of way. And obviously, if anybody from any type of special needs organization ever reaches out to me and just wants me to pay a visit to wherever, donate some time just to meet some special needs children, whether that be autism, they be on the autism spectrum, it doesn't matter what it is to me. Um, if somebody wants me to come and meet their child, or even an adult, because a lot of people, that's another thing that I don't think gets talked about enough, is special needs children grow up to be special needs adults. And there are much fewer resources for the adults and also the caregivers of these adults now than when they are children. Over the last, I'd say 5 years specifically, there's been a lot of programs put in place for special needs children, whether it be in public schools, private schools, therapy locations, what have you. For the children, they've really stepped the game up just nationally. There's still a lot more work that needs to be done in those areas, but as far as adults are concerned, there's just there's not as many resources. Um, these children grow up to be adults and they still have special needs, and some of them can't work jobs, and it makes it very tough on the caregivers as well. So those caregivers, I think, sometimes get forgotten.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, in in that they're still doing all the same things they've done since they found out their child, has autism or um,
Puts a lot of pressure on
cerebral
them.
palsy, Down syndrome, whatever it may be. Yes, it's very stressful. It can be very stressful,
Yeah.
especially when you don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn. Hey, my child is not learning like they need to learn, and I don't know what to do. So it can be very tough. So, anytime I can donate time to anyone like that, whether it's just come, hey, meet them, uh, uh, um, you know, like I've said, I haven't done this much, but I'll make, if somebody wants me to make a birthday party appearance for their child, like just regular everyday fan, hey, would you make an appearance? Sure. I have a general fee for showing up and doing X, Y, and Z. Do you just want this? Do you just want this? But if it's a special needs family, um, it'll always, at very minimum, be discounted, if not just completely free. I'll try my best to just donate my time if it's in the realm of time and possibility to do so, to make it, maybe they just want some merchandise. Hey, you want a shirt? No problem. I'll sign a picture for you. That's the least I can do
Yeah.
for someone in that position. I mean, it's the very least that if that brings a little bit of joy, relieves a little stress from their life, then why not? You know.
Yeah.
Um,
And like you
but yeah,
said, you're helping somebody make their day. You're providing a space for them to feel good about themselves. For that,
yeah,
they wouldn't feel good if they didn't have somebody that would, tell them, "Hey, you're gonna be fine. Just keep doing
yeah.
what you're doing."
Hey, you know, we all go through stressful times in life,
Hmm.
right? Those times come and go. For the average, everyday, typical person, we all have our struggles. So just imagine if you're not the average typical person and you have some extra hurdles that you have to go through every day, or you're the parent of a person that has those extra hurdles every day, and now those hurdles become the parents' hurdles. You know, at the end of the day, what I do in professional wrestling, I'm an entertainer, right? I'm entertaining people and I'm getting their mind off of, even if it's only for an hour or two, you know, that is their escape from reality, right? Where they don't have to worry about what could go wrong today, right? Or we still have this lingering thing hanging over our heads that we're trying to take care of paperwork wise to get our son or our daughter, or or your brother in some cases, right? Or maybe it's a niece or a nephew that you have taken on the responsibility, or even it's a grandchild, you've taken on the responsibility to take care of them, for whatever the reason, whatever the circumstance is. You know, you have this special needs individual, where, like I said, whether it be autism, whether it be, you know, physically disabled in some kind of way. If we can be their escape from reality for 2 hours, or an hour, or just even just, you know, they log on to my Facebook or Instagram and they hear a 2-minute promo of mine talking about my upcoming match. If that provides them some sort of stress relief, then I achieved something, you know,
You've done your job.
you know, even as minute as it may be. So, if anybody's hearing this, anybody watches this and they're like, hey, you want your son to meet, not just me, there's a ton of professional wrestlers out there. You want to meet a professional wrestler, you want to come to a show, you know hey, let me know. I'll see if there's a way I can help you.
Yeah.
It's the least I can do.
Why do you feel passionate about helping out in your community?
I think it's just I think a lot of it just kind of goes back to, stems from having a special needs son, and, whatever that struggle may be. And then, like I just said, realizing, hey, every typical person has a struggle. So if there's a way to help, why not help? Right? If there's a way to make the community better, I mean, if the community's better and I'm in the community, if I can go out and try to benefit the community in some kind of way, it only benefits me in return, right?
Yeah.
Helping others only helps yourself. Don't you want yourself to become better? Go and try to help someone else become better, and you also become better. I mean, it's a win-win.
Right.
I mean, you're never going to regret helping someone in need in any way, shape, or form. You're never going to regret helping someone who's truly in need, right? Now, obviously, I hate to say it, but these days, you got to be aware that there are some scammers out there, people that may claim, they're in need of something, which most of the time it's pretty obvious. But, you'll never regret lending a helping hand someone who needs help. You'll never regret going out in the community and trying to do something good that's gonna just be better for other people. You'll never regret it.
Is your son a big wrestling fan?
Well, it's hard to say. My son is nonverbal, so his speech is very limited. Little words or phrases here and there. He isn't going to just say, "Hey, I really like this." He'll never say that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes he'll watch it if I'm watching it. I don't actually watch a lot of wrestling simply because my schedule is so busy. Most of the wrestling that I watch is clips and pieces here and there that I watch through social media on my phone, and then research purposes, and then I try to catch. I am more of a WWE guy in terms of a fan. I've always have been.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't, like I said, I'm not going to sit and watch their, I don't, how many hours of programming do they have every week? 10 hours or something like that.
They got like 10
I don't
hours.
have 10 hours to just sit and watch TV in a week. I don't have 10 hours to spare. But I do try to catch the monthly premium live events because, that's the field. That's the cream of the crop in the entertainment wrestling industry right there is WWE. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not saying every single wrestler that showcased is the best in the world. They're not, but they're there for a reason. The showcase that WWE puts on, the production value, it's there. It's second to none. I would like to see more AEW stuff because there are a lot of wrestlers there that I do like. I would say I'm probably a big John Moxley fan. Not gonna lie.
He's
Was
very
always a
good.
big, would love to see more of it, but it is what it is. I watch as much as I can. Um, and I feel like I may be rambling a little bit. You asked
No.
me, you asked
Yeah.
me if my son liked wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And now
Yes.
I've gotten into this.
Yeah.
So, you know, he doesn't watch a ton of it with me, but I will say this: he has a little Hulk Hogan action figure. He has a little Macho Man action figure, and they're never far away. They're always in the midst of his little superheroes. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man are in amongst his superheroes, and so is Jeff Hardy.
Oh, another great one.
Jeff Hardy. Now we got him a Braun Strowman action figure,
Hmm.
and this is what happened with Braun Strowman. He ripped his head off, and then he ripped like a leg off, and he ripped an arm off. So I assume what he was telling us is, I don't like this guy. I assume that's what he meant by ripping his head off and his arm off and his leg off. He was not a Braun Strowman fan, is what I gather.
Yeah, it seems like he's not a big fan of him,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So, but going
Oh,
back to what I just said there, you know, in terms of, you know, WWE, I'm a WWE fan and
hmm.
whatnot.
It's your
Uh,
favorite flavor of ice cream.
for the most part,
Yeah.
I like the production value of it, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm an entertainer.
Hmm.
Um, and when I look at their production value, the way they showcase their wrestlers as superstars, I mean, I don't think anybody really showcases their talent
No,
as good as WWE does.
they're
Even
huge.
though they could do better on some of their people, but that would mean, you know, a push. Not everybody can be pushed to the top all the time.
Hmm.
You know, it just is what it is. Um, but I would say for storyline wise, as far as storytelling goes, I don't think anybody who's kept up with it would argue that Impact Wrestling has told some of the best stories over the years. They really do a good job with the people they have on their roster, male and female, in the way they tell the stories and put their matches together. It's very good, very good.
Hmm. Yeah, I've seen some good stuff there as well. Well, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. Where can people find you on social media?
So I have two Facebook pages. One is it's like a like page, right? Brym Stone, spelled in one word, Brym Stone. It's a like page. You can find me there. You can follow me and like that page, or you can find me on my other Brym Stone page, which started out as just like a regular Facebook page, as Brym Stone, that I eventually turned into what's called a professional page,
Hmm.
and it's two different words, like a first name and last name. Brym, Brym, and then Stone is like the last name.
Hmm.
Um, I probably spend more time on Facebook than any other social media platform. But you can also find me on Instagram at the Brimstone, and then also you can find me on. I recently opened up a new Twitter page this year, which now is X.
Hmm.
Just just to be out there, another place just to see mostly flyers and pictures, uh, and and Threads is new part, kind of, it's like part of Instagram. It's kind of
Yeah.
like Twitter. I'm on there. You can find me there. Uh, so um, and I have a YouTube page, but I'm horrible at. I have TikTok, but I'm horrible at uploading videos. I'm not a very tech savvy guy.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing I need
I
to
got you.
improve in, to
Yeah.
get a little bit more out there of my actual matches. But you can look on YouTube and you can find matches of me, a little bit on my page, but most of it's on other people's pages. Just if you look, Brym Stone versus, and some things will come up like Brym Stone versus Vladimir Koloff, or Brym Stone versus Paul Riot, Charles West, things of that nature.
Yeah.
There's matches out there, Brym Stone versus Mustang Mike, things like that. So yeah, I'm out there. Like I said, I need to get more match video put out there. I'm working on that. Hopefully start of next year can really get some stuff uploaded over the last few years. I feel like the last 2 to 3 years have really had, my best work, and there's really not a lot of it out there for people to see. But also, I would say, if you want to see what I do, you can buy a ticket. You can come to a show and buy a ticket and see me live. It's always better live.
That's right.
Hey,
up close and personal.
That's right. Hey, buy a ticket. Everywhere I go. Doesn't matter if I'm wrestling in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, even Maryland. Tickets will range anywhere from $10 to $25. It's really not that bad. That's very affordable when you compare that to a lot of other entertainment that you would buy tickets to go see. Just saying, it's very affordable to come to independent wrestling shows and check us out, and just get some good quality wrestling entertainment, and it's good stuff for sure.
Take your mind off of what's going on around us and enjoy some mindless entertainment. Gotta love it. Well, Brym Stone, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you, and I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
It means a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers watching this on YouTube. And you're more than welcome to come back.
Absolutely, man. Hey, if you don't have anything lined up, you're looking for an interview, hit me up. If I got free time, I'll definitely try to drop back in, because I've enjoyed it. One thing I'd like to say before we go, I want to put this out there. As far as you'd hit on goals of mine before, I don't know as if I really got deep into goals. I just want to say, you asked like where I see myself in 5 years.
Yeah.
I wanted to reiterate that my hopes for my career are that before I hang it up, I'd really like to work with NWA. I think I'd be a really good fit with NWA. I think I could do a lot of good things there with a lot of their talent. And I'd even really, really be interested in MLW. I think that'd be fun to work for those companies before I hang it up. Like I said, hey, if somebody bigger comes calling, awesome. But I would say an actual goal of mine would be to work with NWA and MLW. That would actually be goal.
Those are good companies to work for, and it's good to have alternatives and competition as far as like companies go, because I think it's good to have different outlets for wrestlers and wrestling to be out there in the mainstream. So yeah, those are great places to go. So if you're looking for a guy to show up at one of your promotions, Brym Stone is your man.
That's right.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.